Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's a great privilege to be here today to speak on C25, the PRPP, the Public Registered Pension Plan, or Pooled Registered Pension Plan. It's great to be here talking about it, but before I start, I want to say thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to say thank you to Minister Menzies, the Minister from Fort Macleod, the work that he's done on this, the work that he's worked in close cooperation with the premiers or the ministers of finance in the different provinces. You know, it's no easy task when you're actually told that you've got to look at the retirement packages that Canadian citizens will face or have when they go into the future, and what they can have to spend or what they will have to spend in their glory years or their retirement years. And you want to make sure that you're able to provide that. You want to make sure that they have the tools to provide that too. And I think PRPP actually does a good job in doing this, and I think all parties, if they actually put away the rhetoric and the verbal diarrhea that we've just heard and actually look at what's in the legislation and actually look in this bill C25, they would see that this is actually not a bad way to move forward, and it's a reasonable and prudent way considering the environment that we're working in here today. C25 is a pension plan that small individuals can actually take on. It's a pension plan that small companies can offer their employees. You know, Mr. Speaker, this last weekend I was at a chamber function in Nipawin. And in Nipawin, it was kind of interesting. They had a guest speaker. His name was Eric Anderson. And Eric Anderson, he's a very good speaker in talking about the resource sector in Saskatchewan and what's going on. He talks about all the opportunities that are coming forward. But he also talks about the labor shortage. And he actually talked about the labor shortage in Saskatchewan's going to face as they see the potash expansion, as they see the expansion in the uranium and the gold sector, in the oil and gas sector, and then the re-emerging forestry sector that's emerging at this point in time, Speaker. But you know, in that growth and in that prosperity that Saskatchewan's facing, and I have to thank the Brad Wall and his Saskatchewan government for doing such a great job in allowing that growth to happen, because under the NDP government that would never happen. In fact, we've seen people leaving this province under the NDP government, but under the SAS Party government we've actually seen people come back, and we're actually looking at trying to draw in people from all over Canada and around the world to actually work in the great province of Saskatchewan. But one of the issues that's coming up is because we're so short of labor, that the smaller companies are trying to figure out how they're going to be able to retain employees. How do they compete against the big multinational companies? How do they compete against government organizations? How do they take that mechanic that they've seen through to journeyman status and then keep them in their organization? I know when I worked for Flexico and Case New Holland, talking to our ag dealers, that was a common problem, is how do I get that mechanic after I've spent all this time and effort getting him trained up to understand our equipment and keep them in my dealership? That was a big problem, Mr. Speaker. So PRPP is one tool that allows the employer to do that. I think it's a great tool. You know, small businesses don't have the ability to take on a big pension plan. They don't have the resources. They don't have the fiduciary capacity. They don't have the administration. They can't afford it. If you only have 4 or 5 employees or 1 or 2 employees, you can't hire a person to administer a pension plan. You have to be at a certain size in order to get economies to scale. Well, that's the beauty of this plan, Mr. Speaker. It allows a pension to be developed. It allows the pooling of the resources to get to economies of scale. Another nice thing about this program, Mr. Speaker, is it actually allows a third party to come in and administer the plan. So the employer doesn't have the burden of hiring somebody to administer a pension plan. He actually allows the third party to coordinate and work through this pension plan with that employee. Now, the other nice thing about this pension plan, and it's an advantage over existing pension plans, if you decide to change jobs, if you decide to take on a different employee or employer, the plan follows you. It goes with you. So me as an employee, a mechanic, if I decide that I want to take a job at a different dealership because the dealership I'm in is no longer in business or for any other reasons, he can take it with him. It's his money. He can go there. It follows him wherever he goes. That's a great plan. It allows retention of employees. It allows that employer to say, you know what, I've got a pension plan here for you that you can contribute to. It allows the employee, so if the freedom, if he decides to change jobs, he can take on and change jobs, and that pension plan follows with him. Great idea. Now, this plan is the federal portion of it. Of course, the cooperation of the provinces is needed in order to see this plan move forward and be implemented throughout Canada. And I'm sure we'll have that cooperation, considering the amount of work Mr. Menzies, or the Minister from Macleod, put into this, the work on this plan. You know, he went around and consulted with the Ministers of Finances of the provinces over and over and over again. He talked to businesses groups, he talked to employees and employers, he talked to them about options that they could look at to, again, provide that stability for people during that retirement days. This was the good result. You know, one of the arguments was, well, we should just raise CPP. Let's just raise CPP. Let's pay more CPP. Well, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business said one thing about raising CPP is you kill jobs. Now, in parts of Canada, killing jobs would be very serious. Now, in my area, we actually have a shortage of labor. We're sitting at about 5%, 4% unemployment rate. We need everybody we can get. But some areas, it's not that lucky. So we do not want to kill jobs. We want to see jobs continue to grow. We still want to see jobs and people employed in different regions of the country. So you don't want to kill jobs. So I know the opposition members don't want to kill jobs. So I think the opposition members can understand when you talk to third parties and you talk to professors and expertise in the industry, you don't want to raise CPP. That's not the option in this day and age that is correct. So if you don't have that option, what else do you have? Well, the employers are saying, well, I can't afford to give you a pension. I can't afford the administration costs. I can't afford to hire somebody to administer a pension. I'm not big enough. I don't have enough economies of scale to pay for it. So this is where PRPP came out, and it's a good idea. It's a good cross balance. It allows that employee to have that benefit. It allows the employer to offer that benefit. If he so chooses, he can even financially contribute to it. Again, that's up to the employer and the employee and their relationship and their benefit package. But it gives them that flexibility to move forward. It actually allows that employee to have a little bit more tools in his basket on what he can use for retirement ages. So he can have an RSP, he can have a pension, he can have a PRPP if he is with a company that offers a PRPP. You know, he's got a lot of options to him. And I think that's just being prudent. It's also encouraging them to save. I think saving for retirement is something that all of us have been told we should be doing. And we all know the younger you start, the better you'll be when you come to retirement age. So I think we should always keep encouraging members, especially young members of society, to be saving more and more as we move forward. Again, PRPP, you look at the intent of it. If I look at how it's going to work, when I see how it's going to benefit the employees, I just think this is just a step forward, and it's a very positive step and a move forward. Now, Mr. Speaker, one thing that we've heard today is a lot of confusion. And it's really too bad, because this bill actually should have intelligent debate. It should be debated on the merits of the bill itself, not on a wild range of speculation and hip hurrah over other things. Let's talk about PRPP. Let's refocus on actually what this legislation is about. Let's look at the situation as if you're in that employee's shoes. If you're sitting there right now and you are looking for retirement, let's say you're in the middle 40s, and you're saying, what benefits, what tools do I have available to me? Well, I got RSPs, so I'll maximize that or do the best on that. But we know a lot of Canadians aren't doing that. I got CPP, I'm paying into that. We know CPP is going to be there. We have GIS, and this government actually raised the GIS, so we know that's going to be there. We have OAS. Old age security. We know that that's in the works. We understand there's some challenges with OAS, but again, we'll discuss that in a future date. But that's not this bill. This bill is PRPP, Pooled Registered Pension Plan. That's what we're discussing here today. So let's look at PRPP, and I'd encourage other members to put away all the fluff and all the, what's the static noise or noise, and let's focus on PRPP. That's what we're here to do. Let's make sure that we get a proper piece of legislation that moves forward, that actually works for that employee or employer. If we focus on that, if we look at that and say, let's put politics aside and let's just focus on that employer and employee, you'll actually look at this bill in a different light. When you look at saying, okay, when he turns 60 or 65, or when he decides to retire, or she decides to retire, what will she have for benefits? And PRPP is in that basket. 15 years from now or 20 years from now, they'll be thanking you for voting in favor of this piece of legislation. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a great piece of legislation. I again want to thank the member from McLeod, the Minister of State for Finance. I also like to thank the Parliamentary Secretary and all her hard work in this file. I know she's worked very hard in the background of this, and all the members of the Finance Committee on both sides of the party of the line. So they've worked hard on this in different consultations too. So I think I'll wrap my speech up there, Mr. Speaker. I just encourage members to, again, focus on PRPP. Focus on C-25. Let's get this legislation through, and once we get it through, then we can get on to other business too. And you can take and be reassured that your constituents will thank you for doing it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? Question et commentaire. The Honourable Member for Nickel Belt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Several years ago, a private company that I used to work for allowed certain employees to withdraw their pension fund and invest it into the stock market, or invest it wherever they wanted to, a lot like what the Conservative government want to do today with this PRPP. invest your money in the stock market. What happened to this, and it was a substantial amount, several hundred thousands of dollars, and what happened to this, this employee is, of course, the stock market goes up and it goes down. So in his case, the stock market went down, and he lost all of his investment. Today, at the age of 63 or 64, this former employee with a big pension is not working. Not because he wants to, because he has to. So my questions to the Conservative, or to the member from Prince Albert, is why do the Conservatives/reformists enjoy watching seniors live in poverty?
The language is not working necessarily for moving forward this piece of legislation. You know, it's actually very interesting that he talks about it, because in the PRPP you can have third-party providers, and they can be a variety of different agencies. It could be a bank, it could be a credit union. But you know, when you sit down with that provider, you're going to have the option of looking at what types of investments you want to put your PRPP in. And I think depending on your age, you may be looking at different risk levels as you invest. So for example, if you're a little younger, you're willing to stand a little bit lost and ride through the markets in a longer term, you may want to take on more risk. If you're getting closer to retirement and you say, you know what, that's my nest egg, I don't want to submit it to a lot of risk, they may put it in a portfolio that actually will have very little risk. That portfolio may not be even stock market related. It might be government bonds. It might be other things. You know, the market does what the market does. It goes up, it goes down. We all know that. We've all seen it. And we tell our kids that. It goes up and it goes down. To predict and to try to predict the market is a very dangerous game. So I think you need to work with a good, proper third-party person who's experts in this field to help you manage that risk so that you can actually get that value out of your money when you go to retire. Thank you, Mr.
Question commentaire. The Honourable Member for Bonavista Gander, Grand Falls, Windsor.
Not yet. I want to ask him a question. He talked about the first of all, congratulate him on the speech, but I want to say that he talked about confusion, he talked about rhetoric and fluff. He talked about the plan specifically to the official opposition, which was about raising EI premiums, and went on at length about being the job killer that it is. Yet, earlier this month, premiums did just that. They went up. So I was wondering why he let that happen under his watch, if he truly feels that they're job killers.
The Honourable Member for Prince Albert.
I guess the Honourable Member was listening. I was actually talking about CPP and what would happen if we would have raised CPP. It would actually kill jobs. And that's why we didn't want to see that. Again, when you look at what was in my speech and what I said, I was very clear. If you talk to groups like Canadian Federation of Independent Business, they talked about raising CPP. They actually said it would reduce jobs. So that's why we didn't go that route.
We have time for one short question and response. The Honourable Member for Burlington.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure you're not referring to my height. I want to thank you, the member, for the comments he made and clarifying exactly what this is about. I would like to know from someone from Saskatchewan, what's the importance of portability in this pension plan, that you're able to move from one job to another? Is that important to the people of Saskatchewan?
The Honourable Member for Prince Albert.
Well, that's a great question. Actually, it's nice to have a question in regards to the bill. I really have to commend the member for sticking to the topic, which is the C25 PRPP. You know, in Saskatchewan, the importance is very huge. We do see employees change jobs from one to another, especially the younger you are. So if you have a job when you're, let's say, 25, you start out a PRPP, you can keep moving that. That versatility is with you as you change jobs, and maybe you change career paths. But the PRPP is yours. It's yours until you go to retire. And that's the beauty of this piece of legislation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.